Hello, Chris Taylor here for B&T TV, chatting with Darren Woolley, and I'm going to break habit here and actually read out your title, because you're one of those people in the industry with an impossibly and very unhelpful long title. I'm actually dropping words from the full title he gave me here, but it is, in short, Founder and CEO at Trinity P3 Marketing Management Consultants. Welcome to the program.
You got it right, Chris. Thank you and congratulations.
What is it? You guys are in communications. You've all got the most verbose, clunky, badly written names. What's all that about?
Well, for a lot of people, when we said Trinity P3, they say, well, what do they do? So we put marketing management consultants to explain what we do.
But like with Vegemite, it doesn't need to say Vegemite, a spread you put on toast. People, wouldn't you trust the market to know what Trinity P3 does?
Maybe we should, but there's not a lot of us. We're not like advertising agencies. Everyone knows what an agency does. Very few people actually know what we do.
Well, that's my first question. What do you do?
We help our clients find the right agencies for their needs. So a lot of our time is really working with marketers, going through what they need, and then finding the right people for them to talk to in the industry.
It's very much all about the pitching process, isn't it? And you could use a term like the pitch whisperer or the pitch curator, the pitch doctor. What term do you like to describe colloquially for what you do?
Well, look, we call ourselves pitch consultants, but really we're pitch doctors.
Pitch doctors. I think that's got a better ring to it. I don't want to give you marketing advice, but I reckon pitch doctor's better than pitch consultant. Pitch consultant sounds like someone in the cricket game who goes and puts the key in the wicket just to see if it's going to bounce or not.
And that's one of the problems. If you type into Google pitch consultant, you get all these...
You get Tony Gregg coming up a lot.
Exactly. And all in India, because apparently pitch consultants are very big in India.
So on a typical day, what does a pitch consultant do?
Well, we're working with clients that come to us and say we're looking for an agency. We spend a lot of time really understanding what their needs are, and then going to the market and understanding what the agencies have to offer. Because, there's more agencies than anyone could possibly need. We help them navigate that because it's incredibly complex.
Would most agencies use a pitch consultant like you, or would some just sort of have an open door policy and have, scores of agencies come in to pitch? Or are most of them now using people like you to whittle down the amount of people they see?
No, we're mainly getting the very big clients because they're the ones with the most complex needs. The smaller advertisers are inclined to run pitches themselves, and that's probably the vast majority of pitching that goes on. But we're getting the big complex pitches where there really is a need for someone independent to help them navigate that landscape. When a client comes to us, they say to us, I want a creative agency, I want a media agency, I want a mix of agencies. I'm not really sure what I need. We work through that. Then we go and find the right agencies for them. And we do that by understanding everyone in the marketplace and what they're up to. So we're really, in many ways, like a dating or a matching service. We're matching the agencies in the market to the client's needs.
So you're the Tinder of the industry.
But we don't swipe left or right.
Right. That'd be a good startup, though. Is someone trying to get in this space to do, as an app, what you do for real?
Well, except that, it's incredibly complex. I think Tinder pretty much matches people on their gender and their sexual preferences rather than anything more sophisticated. You've got to remember we're dealing with millions of dollars in contracts. To put that down to an algorithm that helps you select a life partner, having said it, it's probably a good idea. Right, idea for later.
After this, we're going to start it. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get a VC to give us heaps of money to do that. You're right. There's millions of dollars at stake in these decisions. To what extent is it an exact science, or is there still a bit of gut feel about it?
It's all gut feel. I mean, really, all the logical part we can structure and put that in place and help marketers sort through the sort of rational decision making. But a lot of it comes down to chemistry. Like literally meeting the agency. Who do I trust? Who seems to share my values or at least seems to understand my needs is a much bigger part of it than most people realise.
Is there a risk in your caper of playing favourites? Like when you work with people, they're so reliable, their work is always good, I'll always put them forward. Or have you got to train yourself not to do that?
Yeah, I just make sure I hate all the agencies equally, and that way I can't be accused of having any favourites.
Who do you hate the most?
No, I hate them all equally.
But just between us, who do you hate the most?
I love and hate them all in equal measure. That's like asking who's your favourite child. You know, you can't have a favourite child.
That's my next question. Who is your favourite child?
I've got 5, so that's a very tough question. I'm not answering that one either.
Did you see in the recent New South Wales election, there was such a ridiculous leaders debate. I think it was Channel 9 and Peter Overton was the moderator. And he actually asked the then Premier Dominic Perrottet if he could name all his children. And I said, have we seriously reached the point in political discourse where we're asking premiers if they know the names of their children? So I'm going to ask you.
Atlanta, Summer, Ginger, Dash and Daz.
Brilliant. I assume correct. They sound like the sort of names for that he'd give his children.
Copywriter would make up, yeah, and inflict on his children for the rest of their lives, yeah.
What trends then are we seeing in pitching right now? What's really hot?
Okay, so the big thing is clients are often trying to get a mixture of agencies to solve their problem. They really want one agency to do it, but they'll end up we'll end up putting together 2 or 3 and trying to create the solution that they want. So that's the first one. The second one that's happening on the agency side is coming out of COVID. Agencies are being a lot more selective in what they'll pitch for. So in the past, before COVID, every opportunity they would jump at. Now they're starting to ask increasingly questions around what's it worth, what's the process, and often saying to us things like, well, no, we don't feel that we should be pitching for this business, which I think is a great development.
So restraint is as important as being really ambitious and proactive.
Well, absolutely, because go for the pieces of business that you really want, but don't go for everything. And that way you'll end up winning more as a percentage of the ones you go for, because you're being more selective.
I've got a question here which is sort of on that topic. How often should a brand consider pitching their work?
Only when they have irreconcilable problems with their current agency. So this idea that every 3 years when the contract's up they should go to pitch again is a really flawed approach. And I explained it to a procurement guy in New York who told me this, that he thinks that they should pitch every 3 years. I said, are you married? He said, yes. And I said, how long? 7 years. I said, go home and say to your partner that it's been 7 great years, but I'm going to date other people for 3 to 6 months and then come back and date you. And if it's still as good as I thought it was, then I'll commit for another 7 years. That's what pitching's like. Don't use a pitch to reinforce or test your relationship. Only use a pitch to replace something that's not working.
Gee, that sounds very wise, doesn't it? That's oracle stuff coming out of your mouth.
Years and years of experience there.
Just finally, on a more serious note, you've been a very outspoken critic about bullying in the workplace. How big a problem do you feel it is in your industry?
Well, when I was working in the industry last century, it was very open. There was bullying, there was harassment. It was happening. It was part of the sort of toxic 20th century. And I believed that a lot of that had gone away, that we'd become much better at it. But what had actually happened is it had become more circumspect. There was more gaslighting, that people were still being bullied, but in a way that they couldn't really do anything about it. And that's why we came out and said, we need to address this. These microaggressions, they call them, gaslighting, making people feel that they're actually the cause of the problem, when in actual fact bullying is still occurring. And even if it's only one person in one agency each year, that's still one too many.
And are you seeing improvements, do you think?
Well, we put in place a statutory declaration that we ask all of the agencies to sign when they want to participate in a pitch that says, all the things that they're doing to stamp out bullying and harassment. And almost all of the independent agencies and a few of the big multinational agencies are signing that every time. So we're seeing a big uptake and a big support in the industry. We just have to get those last few multinational agencies on board.
At the start of this interview, I made fun of your ridiculous title. I hope you don't regard that as bullying in any shape or form. Am I going to have a lawsuit as a result of this interview?
Not at all, Chris. I've got very thick skin after 20-odd years in advertising.
It's been an absolute delight chatting with you. Congrats on all your work. Darren Woolley, I'm not going to say his title because it's far too long and we've run out of time. Thank you for watching B&T TV. You've been a big, outspoken advocate for, well, not an advocate. I'll start that again.
Yeah, we should all do more bullying.
Yeah.